Hi guys, welcome to the Asylum. Today we have a very special guest from GCT. This episode is sponsored by Mastercrafted Miniatures. All the links for everything that we're talking about and the sponsor will be in the description down below. So I'm going to hand you over to James, who will introduce our guest. So over to you, James.
Right, hi guys. Today joining us from GCT Studios, the makers of Bushido, we have Toby, known as GCT Master T from the forums. How you doing, Toby?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
No worries, mate.
So we have got an exclusive, courtesy of GCT and very kindly from Toby. We have the new Ronin model for Cult and Savage Wave. So if I just get that up.
As if by magic.
As if by magic.
He is a rather tasty model.
He really is. So we got an exclusive for the Savage Wave. So if you look at my screen, you'll be able to see it right now. Toby, if you'd like to just announce the name, because I'm just going to mess it up.
Taisho Tenbatsu.
Yep. So, James, do you want to kick it off with some of the questions? Talking about the card, maybe?
Yeah, sure. Well, the first question that will come to mind is how was this model concepted? What made GCT come up with a Ronin character for both Cult and Savage Wave as their Merc model?
The character was actually a product of we ran an Indiegogo campaign last year to release the Aito quicker. And out of that, one of the higher pledge levels was that we gave the opportunity for people to kind of come in and impart a character concept into the game, the visual element of it. And we worked with one of the guys who pledged this level to create a kind of conflicted, broken samurai lord. And it stemmed from there really. So working that into our schedule and working it into the kind of release schedule and the points cost and the breakdown of the game, it led to the kind of Savage Wave and the Cult. We felt that kind of after fleshing out the character that those were the two that it kind of resonated with the most.
All right, that's cool. So can you tell us a bit, actually, fluff-wise about the character? Why does he work for both Savage Wave and the Cult? Who is he as a character?
Hello? Oh.
Hello? You still there, James?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Oh,
yeah, sorry, you broke up a little bit.
I think the question was why does he play for both the Cult and the Wave, correct?
Yep, that was the question.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that both those factions kind of represent the character's driving motivations and his ideals and what he's fighting for within the Jua Isles.
All right. Steve, do you want to do the next question?
Obviously we've got the Savage Wave card in front of us, and obviously it can work for Cult as well. But Savage Wave has got Consume Soul as one of its feats. What will Cult be getting? Can you divulge?
People will have to wait until the card comes out, which should be around Gen Con time. So the Cult model, Cult card won't be probably previewed until beginning of August. But the Cult's version of the Consume Soul is pretty tasty, although it doesn't have Consume Soul.
I love that wording.
Yeah. Another one is Chris and James obviously have both Chris as Savage Wave and James as Cult. Is this something really to differentiate them for both playing against each other? So if James was to take one and Chris was to take one, are they totally different kind of models?
Good question.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time within the Ronin, what we tried to do was we tried to capture the feel of a faction within the model, and then subtly change how the model plays within the different factions that it's available to be recruited into. So, for example, the Pilgrim, when she plays the role of the Sesshin Nigoi for the Prefecture, she plays slightly differently than when she's playing the half-kami kind of daughter of the lightning god when she's playing for the temple. But they still have kind of themes that are the same, but within their different profiles they represent the factions. So you'll have kind of commonalities. The stats usually remain the same, the point costs remain the same a bit, but some of the traits and some of the feats will change to represent the character within that faction. So, for example, the cult version has access to terror and fear at a greater level than the Savage Wave does.
Well, I've had the pleasure of having a couple of merc models for Aito and Ryu, and they do play real different for each faction, like you say, different feels.
Yeah, thank you. It was something that we've been working on this year. I mean, we're always trying to think of new ways to develop the game, to make the game interesting and appealing, and also to give the players different experiences. So, because one thing that we're really, really hot on is enabling players to get the most usage out of the models that they've purchased, and having models that are cross-factional, but bring something a little bit different to the faction. We just thought was a really interesting and unique way, and something that we could try this year. So we're really pleased about how the Ronin have been received. From the Envoy to the Sentinel to the Grey Pilgrim, and we think Taisha will fit that role for the Savage Wave and Cult players. So it's something we've been really happy with how they've been received by the community. The kind of planning and design of them seems to have worked well, which is something we're happy with, and it's something that definitely players will see again in the future.
Yeah. Well, I'm very happy with my merc models at the minute.
I don't have one yet.
Yeah, Jane. Every single time we've had a wave release for like a merc for Aito or Ryu, James's face just gradually just sinks to the ground lower and lower.
It really does. It's actually hard to create a model that fits in with playstyles and synergies of two different factions, or three when you create a merc model.
I mean, I think the thing is you've got to make it, and one thing we were conscious of, and it kind of goes to the game balance question, I guess, is what we don't want to do is we don't want to introduce things that are strictly better. What we want to do is we want to give players options and answers within their faction, but to not make anything an easy or go-to. You don't want to introduce something to a faction that makes another model obsolete. You don't want to introduce something to a faction that doesn't have a role, doesn't have a niche to fill. So it's quite tricky at times, but I think within the flexibility in that you can slightly tweak a model to represent the faction, gives you a lot of scope design-wise, and a lot of kind of interesting creativity that you can put into it.
Yeah. Okay, well, looking at Picard, one of the questions that we came up with is very interesting. When he does his unique effect to choose one of his abilities, he takes a wound. Why is that? Is that related to like the fluff-wise with the swords taking control?
Yeah, the swords damage him when he uses them.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I can imagine that, like visualizing like the pain and torment he must suffer when he goes into battle.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at it, it's a theme within the cult is the kind of damaging themselves, and it's kind of maybe it's a deeper reflection that actually the real controller in the cult isn't on the table. It's not one of the leaders. It's the powers behind these individuals who have kind of sold their soul for power.
Well, spinning off that question, he has like a feat which is instant, absolute resolve. Can you pop that before choosing a unique effect? I think it said it gains toughness 2.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, so you can pop that off and then use your ability and still be fine.
So for that one turn, he'll be incredibly tough to remove.
Yeah.
That's
turns.
Yeah, that's once per game. Yeah, so it's you have to use it like when you definitely need it.
So if it depends how you're using him, and again, it's kind of we've kind of felt that the model is quite versatile. Do you know, it's one of the things that we strive for is kind of models that are, you know, on the face of it relatively simple, but you know, if you look deeper, you know, the synergies within the faction come out, and you can kind of see multiple ways to play the model and to use the model to kind of win the game.
Yeah. How does the model actually play, like during playtesting? Is he like a model which is purely aggressive, or is he one of those models which you have to play him conservatively and then use him aggressively when he's actually needed to do it?
I mean, I think that's the interesting thing, is because you get a bit, you get control over it, so there's not a purely kind of random element. But it's kind of how you want to play. Like, you can use one of the sword's abilities during the starting phase to gain, you know, impetuous and brutal, powerful attack, or you can kind of hold back. It depends how you want to play him, and I think the swords represent the different play styles of him. And with that, you can kind of hold him back to heal him if you're saving chi for the consumed soul, or if it's a turn, like you say, when you want to park him, you know, next to a scenario objective or in a zone, you give him the absolute resolve. Or if you're going after someone, then you're going to need to save your chi for the precision strike, and, you know, maybe buying more melee, you know, dice. So it really is, you know, the flexibility, and I think with that flexibility, it can just give players more options and more enjoyment out of him. You know, he's going to play differently every time.
Yeah, I think he does look like someone that does add the options, especially to Cole as well. It seems I'm rather happy just by looking at the Savage Wave. I just know that I'll be a happy guy just knowing that I have someone that's a bit more versatile and can actually survive a little bit more in combat than my normal grunts can. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can go for the kind of the Oni sword, and possibly if you're going to kind of go in and try and hack something to pieces, or you can go with the Cult sword if you're looking at more kind of defensive. Because if you notice the soulless, so he's going to be immune to kind of chi feats. He's going to be fear 5. So he's pretty strong, and combined with the chi feat that he exchanges in his Cult form, it'll be very difficult to go and get into base to base with non-fearless enemy models. So you could almost use him to chase things down. So, you know, there's a lot of versatility in you know, how he plays with the split attack as well, and yeah, there's lots of interesting things you could do with him.
So you can no longer have a go at me, James, for having 4 melee dice and armor 3.
Just have to one guy.
Well, you don't know, there might be more coming.
Oh, yeah. Then I think, as you were saying before, with obviously the Ronin models, you wanted to bring something new to this year. Now that every faction at least has a Ronin model, will you guys be pausing them for a bit as you develop more, or will there be an ongoing thing?
I mean, we tend to work with a kind of year-ahead release, so we've got the models planned out for the next year, and there will be some Ronin models in it. But I think it's okay to rest things for a while, or if we feel that introducing another Ronin is going to be particularly beneficial for a faction, to bring players some new options, then we'd swap things out a bit. But yeah, it definitely won't be the last Ronin profile you see, and they'll be coming as and when we think it's appropriate to introduce them.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
Any more questions, Steve?
That's about it, I think.
Cool.
It's been very interesting. So I'd like to thank you, Toby, for joining the show.
No, you're more than welcome, guys. Yeah, I'd love to come back on sometime, and we'll talk about another profile.
Yeah, we certainly will. Well, once again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for James for joining me. And just a quick little shout out. If you have been watching these shows and writing a comment on the description down below, or the comment section down below, you will be entered into the competition that we're running at the moment to win your Wave 19 faction model. So it's well worth it. Alright, well, thanks to everyone watching, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys.